Andy Elliott. We're here at Elliott Guitars. This will be the second episode of In the Shop with Andy. First episode we covered a basic setup, and today we're going to kind of get more into pickup adjustment and what you're trying to accomplish with that. And you know, the bottom line to pickups is a lot of people has a lot of preconceived ideas of this is the way you set a humbucker up, or this is the way you set a single coil up, this is the way you set a P90 up, and this is the way you set a telly up. That's okay for a starting point, but every pickup and every guitar reacts differently. And you have to be open-minded enough to realize, you know, this is a tool. You know, this is for me to accomplish a specific sound that I want out of this guitar. And you have to find what works best with that guitar and what you're trying to do with it. Me personally, I tend to like my pickups, single coils and humbuckers and P90s, relatively close to the strings. I like to get all the snap and energy I can out of it. I've never had any problem toning a guitar down, but it's really hard to make a guitar have that bite and that snap when it's not there. You tend to keep digging in, and it's never there, and a lot of that can be in a pickup adjustment. On a humbucker guitar, like we covered in the first episode, I always measure from the last fret. If you got a 24 fret guitar, anything past 21 frets, I always measure at the 21st fret, but you can set it up, you can do what you want to do on it, but that's just where I do, to where I kind of get them all the same from guitar to guitar, because you can have different, you know, 22 fret or 24 fret's going to put the string closer to the pickup when you mash it down. So I just kind of reference that to 21st fret. And you measure from the top of the pole to the bottom of the string on the high E and the low E. You don't do that on each individual magnet. You basically set the two edges of the pickup to the strings. And then you have to play the guitar, and you try to get an even tone, because you can't do them all the same, because each string's a different diameter and each string's a different frequency. It's a different, you know, and it picks up different. One string's louder than the other string. Like the G string tends to be really loud. The D string on any guitar is usually the weakest string. It's the hardest for the magnetic field to pick up. So I tend to run the D pole up. The other poles I run pretty flat. The G I usually run it down, and the A up just a little bit. And you know, if you're playing rock and roll, which is why anybody wouldn't play that, I don't know, but it's real important, like when you play an open E chord, like an A, or you've got to hear the G string and you've got to hear that D string, because if you don't, you're going to have a wimpy power chord. The neck pickups, I always try to adjust them to where I hear both pickups. In other words, like when I switch from the bridge to the neck, I don't want a big volume drop, I don't want a big volume boost. And it can be a little tricky, because when you hit your string, you've got a really wide wavelength. Your string's traveling a lot further over your neck pickup than it is back here at the bridge. It's just barely moving over the bridge. That's usually why a bridge pickup is wound a little hotter, is to compensate for that. So I like to get my bridge where I want it. The bridge pickup is where I tend to play most of the time. Not all the time, but probably a good percentage of the time. So I get it set to where I want it, where it really works well, to where I've got when I get on it, it's there, where I can have a good blooming, where the chord just blooms out when I want it to. And there's one other thing I do that's just what I do. You've got a much wider wavelength. When you hit a string, the you know, it's more in the middle of the guitar, so the string's moving back and forth more, and it kind of goes in a figure 8. And so your neck pickup tends to pick up more. That's why you have a bassier tone, a more mid-range and bassier tone, because you've got a lot wider tonal spectrum here in this position of the guitar than you do here, because at the bridge the pickup's really close to the bridge, which keeps it from moving much. It doesn't move as wide a area, so it's a little more difficult for the pickup to pick it up. When you start bringing in the neck pickup, I'll start with a reference. I'll mash at the 21st fret again, and I'll measure to the screw slug of the pickup to the bottom of the string, and I'll start about 3/32 on the neck pickup on both sides, and then I will listen to it just to make sure, but almost all the time I will bring the treble side of the pickup up to about, not quite the same as the bridge, but close. And sometimes you have to screw the high E string pole up just a little bit. And what I'm trying to do is, it just really bothers me when I'm on the neck pickup and I do a big hard bend on the high E string like that, and it's wimpy. I like it to be just as strong as it is on the bridge. And you can get that out of most guitars. Some guitars you can't, but most guitars you can with just finessing the pickup around a little bit. You may have to not have it perfectly flat. Like on this particular guitar, it works really well, and I've got it really close on the treble side. It's a light 2/32, and on the bass side, it's a heavy 3/32. So it's a little different than the bridge pickup, and it works really good, and these pickups sound really good together. You can hear both pickups on this guitar. It just really works well. And the bridge pickup, it's just really important again to make sure when you hit a power chord or whatever that you're hearing those key notes like your G string and your D and your high E, and it's just, you really need to hear those notes for it to be real effective. These here are a single coil pickup. This is our Halocaster pickup. It's really a unique pickup. This is something new that we just have developed in the last little bit. It's a lot like a jazz type pickup, except the bobbin's thicker and the winding is stacked up taller, but it's not as wide, and it just gives it a completely different sound, even different than that of like the ETs and the S series guitars. It's just a different flavor, and they sound really good. They're real powerful pickups. They're not hot, but they're real loud pickups. And this here is our P90 pickup. It's just like a traditional P90 pickup. It's got the 2 bar magnets in it, and this is a completely different type of magnetic field than what this is. And even it's different than what this is. Even though the humbuckers has a bar magnet, this has 2 bar magnets, and it's putting all that energy into one row, into one coil, to where this is dividing one magnet over 2 coils. So it's a completely different magnetic field, and this is a stronger magnetic field than a humbucker. There again, I'm one of them guys, I like to have to tone my guitar down. I don't like to have to hunt for the tone. So I tend to like my magnets charged pretty good, and some people don't, and I just struggle with weak pickups. I don't really like weak pickups. I don't really like overwhelmed pickups, but I like pickups to have power, and I like for them to be loud, to where I can I like to use my volume and my tone both, and in order to do that, I have to have some mojo in the pickups. If I've got a wimpy pickup, it just doesn't work. And they have their places, but it's just I haven't found them yet. And so when I make pickups, I have in mind of being able to use my tone and my volume. And I like using my volume. I don't like putting the high bleeds and all that on it. I just don't like that. I like the fact that when I roll my volume back, it changes the tone of my pickup, because that's different tones. I don't always play my guitar on 10. You know, I play most of the time between 6 and 10. And you know, if I'm doing something and it's a little brighter than I want it to be, if I'm playing slide or something, I'll either roll my tone back a little bit or I'll roll my volume down a little bit. And it'll just take that edge off the pickup that you need. And you know, if you've got good pickups, you can use your volume and tone a lot more. You know, with the pickups we're making, it doesn't just die on you as soon as you touch the volume or the tone. So it gives you a lot more vocabulary to have different sounds out of just a few pickups. You know, you can take your bridge pickup and play, when you play slides, you can roll your tone back or your volume down, and it's like a different guitar than it was when you were playing without the slide. And just completely revamp your sound just by using the best pedals in the world, is this volume and this tone on your guitar, if you've got pickups that allow you to do that. And you know, in the past I've had bought guitars and you just couldn't do that. You just had to play the guitar on 10, because if you touched anything, everything went away. But fortunately, we really work hard to put that into the guitars to where when you get them in the pickups, that you've got something to work with, because all those things, all those combinations is part of building tone. You know, it's part of how's that going to play? The sun around here having a very peaceful day. That's him snoring. I'm really not that boring, I hope. But anyway, one cool thing is there's Stu Mack has a good action setup book that's really good to get, and I use some of these reference where Dan Earlywine has went and measured some pretty famous people's guitars like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Clapton, Malmsteen, James Burton's Telly. And he's got a lot of good references of how they set their guitars up. And when you get something like this, it's not an absolute, it's just a reference. You have to listen to it and see if it's right for you and right for your guitar and your pickups. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful, and look forward to doing many more. Thank you.